All right, my friends, let's see if we can grab data from Fred through Excel and compute some stylized facts. I want to focus on GDP. I'm going to share my screen. I want you to open up a blank Excel spreadsheet. Make sure you have Fred add in loaded. A few ways that you can get the data. We're going to do one date, GDP C1, which is the real GDP moniker. We know it's out quarterly. We're going to go PCA, which is a annualized rate of change. And I know that the first one is from 1947. You don't need to know that. You can put whatever. And then you get data. All right. So how do you compute stylized facts like mean, standard deviation, skewness, kurtosis? One way, data analysis, descriptive statistics. And you could start highlighting some data. Now check this out. If you went ahead and you Control Shift down arrow, copied all this stuff and you put that in, output range, where you want to put it, you could stick there. Summary stats, there's lots of stuff that you can pick. We're just going to do summary stats. Watch what happens. See, input range contains non-numeric data because I included that row 6 stuff. So safest way, there's lots of ways you can do it. Safest way, if you're going to do this, is just go from V7 down, Control Shift down arrow on Windows. Make sure you get the output range set. And all right, so we got the mean of the GDP growth rate quarter over quarter, seasonally adjusted, annualized rate of change is 3.19, 3.2% right now. It's September 11, 2025. The last data point available is for 3.3%. So we're growing about average. There's all sorts of controversy about the first half being low, so the second half is coming back up. Regardless, we're growing around average. We also have a standard deviation that's higher than the mean substantially. So there's probably some volatility. Kurtosis is huge, bigger than 3 for normal distribution, which means there's lots of big events in the tails. We got skewness about 0, which means it's kind of symmetric. Right now we have 313 observations. Other sample stats in there, but what I like about this is that it's fast. What I don't like about it is that, look, there's no formulas. Those are just numbers. So how do I replicate this more quickly? Two things we can do. We can use formulas like average. And once you put in the average, you can go down and you can highlight all this stuff. But the problem is, what if there's new data that comes out? You want to be able to accommodate the new data in there without having to amend your formulas. One way to do that, not the only way, is to create a table. Highlight A6, B6, Control Shift, and then down arrow, and you get all that stuff. Go to insert table. My table has headers, yes. And this design tab pops up. I'm going to call it something better, GDP sample stats. All right. So now, whenever I already named it that, I'll use that for another GDP sample stat. I'm using the one from class, that's why. And what we can do is rename this. We can resize this. So let's push this down to like 365 or so. Why do I want to extend the range of the table? Because I want to automate this process. I want to be able to get new data into the Excel spreadsheet and get it into the table because I'm going to have formulas built on the table. So I want the new data to be incorporated. So click that. All right, now let's go back over here, equals average. And I want to take the average of, I don't want to highlight. So I want to do GDP. We just call it sample stat, right? And what about GDP sample stat? Well, once you click the bracket, options pop up. What's inside of it? That's what the options are. I don't want the average of the date. I want the average of the value. Double click, close that bracket, close the parentheses, and you get exactly what was just computed. But check this out. If you update the data, I'm making it up, right? -10. Watch column G, watch column H. Column H changes. Column G does not. Data analysis toolpack is quick but static. The formula is a little bit more effort, but they're dynamic. Saves you time in the long run. Let's do this for one more. Let's do standard deviation. Standard deviation, GDP sample stat. Let's use the value. Let's close that bracket, close the parentheses, enter, and we get the sample standard deviation. All right. So we can replicate that for all of these. Each one of them will have their own median, kurtosis, scutis, etc. formulas, all picking up on the table idea. Hope that helps.